Hey, Dad.
What?
Do you know what I want?
What do you want?
Pancakes.
Okay, I'll get you some pancakes.
And then, do you know what else I want?
What else do you want?
TV.
You want to watch TV? Okay, I'll turn it on for you.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail.
You know what?
What?
I only want to listen to a radio show.
What radio show?
The Forgiving Soldier radio show.
This is the Forgiven Soldier radio show.
Strangers become your brothers. They got your six when it's back against that wall. And you will never have another who cared for you when times got rough. That's a brother. Who cares for you when times got tough? That's a brother.
And now, your host, Brian Basham.
Hey, welcome into the show. Like Derek said, this is Brian, and I have, I say this every week, but I do have a special guest. I have a special guest every time I come on this show, but I've been trying to get this guy on, and I like to call him the voice of Owensboro. He might disagree, but he's been to almost every event that I've been at. But I have Mr. Chad Benefield.
Hey,
Thank
good
you
to see
for
you,
being
Brian.
here, man.
Oh, hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
No, it's my pleasure, and like I said, I've been trying for years. But I appreciate you coming in, sitting on the couch, and
I gotta say about this couch, it's pretty comfy.
I know.
And I'm prone to falling asleep.
We'll try to keep you awake.
Finally, yeah.
We'll try to keep you awake.
I sat down like, this is kind of like being at the movies.
Yeah.
I mean, since they put recliners in the Malco, I'm toast.
I know.
I rarely make it through a film.
It's hard because even when they didn't have it, I would always put my feet up on the chair in front of me.
Same.
People used to get upset, but I'm like, whatever. I paid my money, and it just is what it is. But the recliners was a game changer.
Well, I love the people who come in with blankets from home, or they wear their pajamas to the movie.
Yeah.
That is a
My wife.
recipe for failure for me. If I did that, I would never make it through a movie.
My wife brings blankets.
Does she really?
Yes, she does.
That's hilarious. I did go yesterday to see the Taylor Swift Eras movie.
Yep.
3 hours long.
Yep.
Good show, by the way. It actually had translated on the screen better than I thought that it would. But there were people who were walking in, like kids with blankets and stuff.
Yeah.
I would have been asleep if I had
My
done
wife
that.
and daughter went to it. Now, my daughter, I mean, she was like a concert for her, and she had the shirts made up, and her and a bunch of her friends were in the front dancing and all this stuff. So my wife was probably dancing too, but no, they loved it. We're big Swifties in our household.
Oh, same.
My cousin, fun fact, my cousin was her makeup artist on the Speak Now tour. Seriously. Sandra Nottingham.
That's
she's
incredible.
out of Nashville, and we were living in California at the time. We had bought 2 tickets. We were going to take a couple. My wife used to coach basketball, and we were going to take some of these girls. This is before my daughters were born, or even old enough to even know. So we're going to take them. We bought them tickets and everything. And I called her. I'm like, hey, we're coming to Sacramento to watch the concert. She's like, where are you sitting at? And I told her, and she's like, no, I got you tickets. So we were literally right on the stage.
That's
of
amazing.
Taylor Swift.
Now, so
Need to
where in
Breathe.
California did you live?
Humboldt County. So it's about 6 hours north of San Francisco.
Okay.
It's the real NorCal.
So you were way north. See, I used to live way south.
We were an hour from Oregon
Okay.
border, and we were right on the coast.
Yeah, I lived in San Diego.
Perfect weather. We've been to San Diego a
Yeah.
couple of times.
I was about 20 minutes from Mexico.
Yeah. So you were you were.
Yeah, it was really far south.
Yeah, I had a buddy from. I still have a buddy. He's still alive. He's from San Diego, and he would always tell me like, "Yeah, it's $1 million to rent this condo and all this stuff," and it's true. Like
It was
it's
expensive.
so expensive to live in San Diego.
Yeah, actually, so I rented a townhouse from a guy who was in the Navy, and he was on a ship.
Yeah.
He was stationed overseas and basically lived on a ship, and so kind of like subleased his apartment or a townhouse from him, and it wasn't expensive at the time. Of course, that was the mid '90s. I think it was like $900 a month.
Yeah, it was crazy. We lived in a trailer in Humboldt County, a trailer.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was $1,200 a month for rent. And I'm
Holy
like,
cow.
And we moved here. We moved here in 2016. And it was like crazy. It was like, oh yeah, welcome back. This is why. But I mean, milk was cheaper. Everything, groceries
Sure.
were cheaper. Now it's not. But
Right.
it was crazy. So We really enjoyed the move, and we made a good move back. It saved us a lot of money.
No doubt. I love California, though. I do miss it sometimes.
Yeah, I miss the people, the friends that I made. And I didn't think just being a Kentucky boy, because I was stationed out there.
Yeah.
I was a recruiter for the Army in California, and that was the toughest job I ever had in my life.
I believe that.
I made a lot of good friends there. Weirdly enough, we've all moved away. We don't even live in California anymore. So some live in Utah and Oregon. Oregon's a big hot spot for people. They love Oregon, and Boise, Idaho. Is another hot spot.
I wrote about this for my station website one time. So I was in San Diego in the middle 90s. Like I moved to San Diego within a month of graduating from the University of Louisville. And so really that was before the dawn of social media, certainly before Facebook or anything like that. So when I moved back here, I had really no way to connect with those folks. And so I wrote about how I wish that I could remember more of that life, because none of it got documented on social media. And so I had all these friends back there who, 30 years removed almost, or 25. I don't remember their last names. We used to hang out all the time, and I would love to be able to find those people, but it's almost impossible because I have no memory of their last names.
That is, and just to tie in the military thing, because I was in before social media, thank God, because I would have been court-martialed. But all we have is like pictures of different stuff, and obviously we're still connected because you go through something like that, you remember some names, and some stories and stuff. But if we had, I think the soldiers now. I'm not going to say they have it easier because it's tough either way, but it's easier to stay connected if that's the thing. But it took a lot of legwork. Just like, hey, have you heard from this guy? Like, let's get his number and all this stuff. So, but we're still thick as thieves after it's been 20 years since we deployed to Iraq, and we're still close. So it's pretty cool that same, people that you shared a season with, like, to have that.
Yeah, I have found so I taught. Well, I worked for a junior theater arts program called J Company. It was part of the Lawrence Family Jewish Community Center in La Jolla, and I managed to find a bunch of the kids who were in that program who are all now adults. So we're friends now through social media and stuff like that. Because I did remember their names because I had a lot of stuff with like programs and their last names on it. So I was able to track down some of those, and that's kind of wild. Yeah, like when you see these kids who were 8 or 9 when they were in your theater program, and now they're
adults,
mom
kids.
of 4 or living overseas and doing really incredible things. It's pretty wild.
So you're from Owensboro originally.
I am.
You went to Davis County?
Yeah, I graduated from Davis County High School in 1989.
Ouch.
I went.
No, I'm just kidding.
Right? I went to Wesleyan for 2 years, which I loved. But it was kind of interesting because Wesleyan for me was half the size of my high school.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I needed to branch out and go tackle something larger. And so I did. I transferred to the University of Louisville, which was, I think, 24,000 students when I got there in 1991. So I went from 800 students to 24,000.
So you were there with, you might remember him, DeJuan Wheat. You remember DeJuan Wheat?
How should I know that name?
He's a basketball player for Louisville, and he's the one that's how I fell in love with Louisville. Not that you know that, but he was a point guard, but he was one of their best players on there. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, totally different experience at U of L, obviously, than Wesleyan. Yep. But yeah, so I graduated from U of L, and like I said, within weeks of graduation, I called my parents. I said, "Hey, random, I'm moving to California." They said, "Oh, okay, what?" Well, so what happened, I'm kind of a writer by trade. That's sort of always been my strong suit. And I decided I wanted to apply for a screenwriting fellowship through Disney. So I applied for this fellowship that was through Disney, but I didn't have to write for Disney to be considered for it. So I wrote an episode of Friends. Okay. The sitcom.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah, so I sent that episode in, just arrogantly assumed I was going to get the fellowship because my episode was really funny. And so I sent it off, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and move out there. So when I get
the call,
when I get the letter of acceptance, I'm in San Diego County. I can drive, an hour and a half north. Yeah, the call never came, but that's all right because I started working for the theater company really almost within weeks of getting there, which was really cool. I love that experience.
Cool. So do you still have that episode?
Yeah, on paper. Yeah.
I mean, we should. There should be something where you can reenact it.
So, yeah, I wrote an episode of Friends. You know how they titled their episodes one with blank?
Yep.
So mine was the one with the Ouija board. It was about a Ouija board. Hysterical, by the way. And Chandler, Matthew Perry, was the focal point of that episode. Because I forget exactly the setup, but when they were using the Ouija board, somehow the spirit was taunting Chandler, which was pretty hilarious. Yeah. I also wrote an episode full length of The X-Files.
Really?
Yeah.
Did anybody take that one either?
No. But they should have. That episode was so cool. So it was about, basically, it's obviously fiction, but did you watch that show?
Yeah,
The X-Files? So what I loved about that show was that kind of ongoing conflict between belief and disbelief.
Yeah.
That's kind of like how I live my life. And I loved that whole dynamic between Mulder and Scully. Yep. She was always the skeptic. And so I wrote this episode based on this fictional, it was a group called the Vazarachi. And it was this bloodline that had mastered mind over matter. So they had the power of telekinesis. So within the arc of the episode, there was a one family in this tribe called the Vazarachi who were being hunted by other members of the family, the bloodline. Okay. They were going to be taken out. And in the course of that, in the course of that episode, all of these, like, Scully is seeing all of these things happen. Well, at the climax of that episode, there's this huge showdown in this family's house. And Scully, if you're watching, you believe that she suddenly has the power of mind over matter. She makes something happen that resolves the storyline. But at the end of the episode, she's having trouble because she's such a skeptic. She's having trouble believing that she did it. I love that episode. It should have been produced.
It should have. It sounds good. I'm in trouble. I'm like, yeah, tell me more. Tell me more.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's what I did. I went out for that screenwriting fellowship. It did not happen, but I started working for the theater company and had an absolute blast. And what was really cool too, I was hired to work for this Jewish community center. I'm not Jewish. Oh, okay. So I was like one of a handful of people who worked on campus that was not Jewish. Goyim, we say in Yiddish.
It was like working at a Catholic church, but you're not Catholic.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, basically. But that experience was tremendous. I loved it. And ended up being the production director for the Streisand, yes, that one, Festival of New Jewish American Plays.
So you met her?
I did not.
Okay.
She never came around, but we had her money. Her money kind of helped underwrite the festival, but it was cool. Yeah. It was really neat.
Well, we're gonna learn more. We're gonna take a little break right now. Okay. You're listening to the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show on 90.3 WKWC.
John 15:13 says, "Greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends." Thank you for listening to the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show.
Veterans Empowered Together is a nonprofit 501c3 organization made up of veterans for veterans. We want to personally invite every veteran out to our Coffee with Veterans event every second Saturday of the month. If you have questions or want to get involved, our website is www.veteransempoweredtogether.com and our number is 270-852-6518. Find all the current events on our Facebook page as well. Facebook.com/Veterans Empowered Together. All right, welcome back in. We are with Mr. Chad Benefield. And if you missed the first section, we talked a lot about, well, everything.
We've
really
been all over the place.
We've been all over the place already.
We've been to a Taylor Swift concert. We've been in California.
Yeah, and I try to tell him I have the reins on this. This is my show, and he just takes it over. So, but anyway, no, it's a great show. I love it. I do want to ask you where your love for theater, because if you've ever been to a Rooster Booster event, if you don't know what that is, you need to find that out because they're amazing. But the theatrics of some of those, are they? I guess parties. They're not parties. They're conventions or
they're monthly meetings. We have the Greater Owens World Chamber of Commerce, but so typically we do something at the end. Not always, but typically we do something at the end to kind of close off breakfast.
For sure,
right?
like Chad being on a table dancing.
It happens. Yeah. So I was a theater kid. I grew up just having a big affinity for it. I loved it, and I actually told this story at Theater Workshop's Cabaret Nights in October. I hosted that. I typically do host one every October. I'm kind of like the Halloween go-to because I love Halloween. I do crazy voices and stuff. But I talked about really and truly theater made me the person that I am today. I got involved I remember in kindergarten at Thruston Elementary School, may it rest in peace, they tore it down. But it was out on Highway 144 out in Thruston. That's where I went to elementary school. In kindergarten, we did, I forget what the play was, but I remember I was cast with my friend Amanda Webster, and we had to sing some song about apples or something. And there are still photographs. My mom has this photograph of Amanda and me standing on the stage and singing this song. But I mean, I got that bug very early in life.
Okay.
And just, it made me a public speaker. It made me comfortable around people, because I wasn't always like really comfortable kind of like in this body. Yeah. Because I didn't like hit my growth spurt until I think it was the summer of my sophomore year of high school. I was short, like I was 5'2". I had like these big ears, and it took me a while for my head to grow into my ears, and I just never was really comfortable. But being in theater and having a voice that way made me a lot more confident. Yeah. And I've carried that into adulthood for sure.
And that's kind of where we were talking before the show started about my high school journey, right? Yeah. And it wasn't like I could always talk to people, but when I got expelled and I went to Breckinridge County, they forced me into like choir and singing and theater. And I was like, there's no way I'm doing this, right? And I get into it, and it's like, it just opened it up. Like, hey, you can be whatever you want to be. Like, this is your place to find yourself. And it was there where, like you mentioned, that I was able to speak to people and talk to people. And again, this was before smartphones and stuff where you don't text. Right. Nobody texts, so we had to talk to somebody. And then I joined the Army. It made it easier. That transition is like, hey, I'm Brian from Kentucky. Yes, where before it was like, I'm not going to talk.
Really and truly, I think that some measure of theater art should be required in school.
For sure.
And certainly some measure of public speaking. I know a lot of colleges now will require a public speaking course of some sort as a core curriculum, and they should. Because, and I realize it's not everybody's cup of tea, but even if it isn't and you get the opportunity to do it, it will make you stronger in situations.
Yeah. The funny thing, so I went to college after the military, and I had to take a public speaking, and they didn't know what they signed me up for. I'm like, yeah, I can talk, and they're like, you can talk about anything you want to. I'm like, anything? And they're like, anything. I'm like, bet. So I did a presentation over bacon. I was a big fan of bacon. I'm not bacon. Now. I'm not. Yeah, bacon.
Not Kevin Bacon, but
bacon.
Okay.
And again, so I was fresh out. So I got to set this up. I was fresh out of the military, and this is before I had a relationship with Jesus Christ. Okay, so this presentation went off the rails from the get-go, talking about bacon, and that's where I found my passion of writing and expressing myself through this. And I actually stole the idea from way back in high school. There was a guy that wrote a presentation about bacon, and I was sitting there, and it wasn't as extravagant as I made it, but I was like, this dude really wrote a paper about bacon, like trying to get an A, and it was so boring, but it was like, bacon comes from, and I was like, this dude is like, he don't care, right? But I was like, I'm gonna take that concept and I'm really gonna run with it. I got an A on it.
Good for you. That's awesome.
They didn't ask me to do another one. They're like, I think you got it.
Well, once you've mastered your thesis about bacon, where do you go from there?
I tested out of that class, and they're like, I think you got it. You're good. So it comes honest from me. But so from theater, did you always? So you're in the radio. Did you, like when you were a kid, it's like, one day I want to be on the radio?
No. No, in fact, radio is a completely accidental career. It's really interesting, though, when I was always obsessed with the radio. So when I was growing up, how old are you?
I'm 42.
Okay, so I'm 50. I just turned 52. So when I was a kid, every Sunday I listened to Casey Kasem's America's Top 40 Countdown. Okay, so that's back in the day when you had this cassette recorder.
Oh, it makes sense now.
And I would put the cassette recorder in, and I would start at 9 o'clock in the morning when Casey came on, and I would record every song that was new in the countdown that week. So as I became a teenager, I had just dozens and dozens of these cassette tapes that I had handwritten the songs on. And basically, I had the entire library of every pop song released in the 1980s.
awesome.
I had it on cassette. And so I was obsessed with that. And I listened to Casey Kasem every single Sunday. I lived for his long distance dedications when he would get on. And,
come on.
this is going out to a PE teacher. And he would talk about, he would, and it always cracked me up because even as a kid, I found the humor in the fact that sometimes the songs that were requested for the long distance dedications had nothing to do with the story.
Yes.
It's like, here's Buffalo Stance by Nana Cherry. Like, what?
But here's the one thing, it puts you in that mind frame like, oh, I see it. Yeah, I can see why they picked.
Yeah. So I grew up being obsessed with that. And I loved music. In fact, when I was in, so I wrote for Panther Press.
Okay.
That was the school newspaper in Davis County Middle School. And it was up to us, the people who contributed to that newspaper, to come up with what we wrote about. So because I loved music so much and I loved radio, I conducted a countdown. So every time there was a Panther Press, we had a school top 10 in it. And I would go out literally in the hallways and poll the crowd, ask anybody I saw walk in the hallway, what's your favorite song right now? And I would keep a tally on a monthly basis. So every time we published a paper,
So you put in work.
There was Chad's school sourced countdown, like our top 10. But when I was at Kentucky Wesleyan, again, writing was sort of my initial go-to. I was in a writing class with Dr. John Combs, who passed away recently. He was amazing. Taught here for years and years. And we had to do an assignment for him that required us to record something that we had written for him. We had to record it. It's almost like an audiobook.
Yeah.
And then we had to go to his office and talk about it. So we sat down in his office. He popped in the cassette and it started to play. And Dr. Combs said, "Oh my gosh, Chad, have you ever thought about working in radio?" And I said, "No." He goes, "You have the voice for it." Well, I don't hear that.
Yeah.
It's just my voice. It's what comes out. So then when I lived in California, we had this pop station in downtown San Diego that every lunchtime they would do a request show. Mm-hmm. Well, being a kid of the 80s, have you ever heard of the music group Slade?
Oh, yeah.
I love Slade.
Yeah.
One of the best 80s songs ever, Run, Run Away. I love that song. So I called this request show one day because I hadn't heard that song in years. And I told the DJ, I said, "Hey, I really want to hear the song Run, Run Away by Slade." And he said, "Hey, man, listen to you landing those words.
Yeah.
You should be
The
in radio."
pronunciations
And I
of
said,
it,
"What are
yeah.
you talking?" I mean, I didn't think anything about it.
Yeah.
So when I left California, my plan was to go to New York City. I had gotten into graduate school at NYU. I applied for a broadcast journalism program. And that's what I was going to do. I got in and that was the goal. When I applied for the program, I never thought radio. I thought TV. So I was going to go to New York City and just become a TV person. And so I came back to Owensboro just to stay for a couple of months, really to save money and just do some odds and ends job. Like I was a substitute teacher. Well, within 6 weeks of getting back here, I got hired at the radio station.
At the one you're at? Or
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, at BKR. So I got hired to fill in for Lee Denny, who was the news director. He was running for public office, could not be on the air. So he needed to have somebody to be his voice.
Yeah.
Well, an acquaintance of mine who I knew from Kentucky Wesleyan was over there. And so they hired me to be his voice. And that was almost 26 years ago.
That's crazy.
So I turned NYU down twice.
Wow.
Because I thought it was kind of weird to be on the job and then go off to school and pay $90,000 to learn what I was doing on the job.
Yeah.
And it was way more hands-on at the radio station.
So my passion came from, you remember Wolfman?
Sure, you better believe it.
So he
Wolfman
came,
Jack.
Yeah. So I was at Davis County Middle Schools when we lived in Philpott in 6th grade, and I was there for just a stint. And he came in and talked to the class, and he told us what it was like being in radio, and he had the cassette. He's like, I would sit in front of this cassette and I press record and I would just say these words and I listen back like, no, I need to get better at that, and then do that. And I was just intrigued. And we got us, we were able to, when 96 STO was, still here in Owensboro, we walked through and I'm like, man, this is so cool. This is so cool. And so from then I was like, I'm going to be on radio. And my dad always said I had the face for it. So I was like, I'm here for it, and yeah, he still says it.
Yeah, it's been a pretty interesting career. I mean, certainly nothing that I ever thought about. I remember being in 5th grade at Thurston, or maybe it was 5th grade. And we had to write these, we had to bring in a baby picture and we had to write what we're going to be when we grow up.
Yeah.
Well, I still have mine. My mom still has it. And every year of elementary school, I changed my career. So on my piece of paper, I turned into Mrs. Valdez in 5th grade. Every year was something different, and radio wasn't on it. I think actor was on it. I wanted to be a chef. I think I wanted to be a truck driver one of the years. I really covered the scope of things.
I can see you as a truck driver.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here it is, radio almost 26 years later.
That's crazy. And I love it. I still listen to the radio. I'll even catch some AM radio, like just not everybody is a big talk show person, but I enjoy it.
Well, my hero, and this comes as a surprise to some people, but my hero is Howard Stern.
Yeah.
I love that man. I think he's a genius. I listen to him constantly. And in my role, I mean,
he revolutionized radio.
For sure.
He made it fun.
And mastered the interview, really.
Some inappropriate stuff, I get it. But
and here for
the
that
way
too.
that he got his guests to let their guard down.
He's a master.
Yeah.
He's a master. I have all 3 of his books sitting on my bookshelf. I listen to him weekly, if not daily. I'm a huge fan. My parents, oddly enough, when I was a teenager, I would walk into their bedroom at night. They had a TV, and they'd be watching his show on E!
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Howard Stern was a huge part of certainly my teenage years and my young adult life, and still as an adult. He really is a revolutionary. I love him. I have so much respect for what he's done.
And it's great. So I've been on the radio a bunch just from vet, promoting that and with the church and stuff. And every time I get on, people listen to it and they're like, you're so good on it. And I'm like, I mean, it's just talking. Like this thing means this mic means nothing to me. It's just I'm talking to you, and
sure,
it's just coming through. It's just who I am. I mean, I'll talk to anybody. I really will. I don't care who you are. But we're gonna take one more break, and we're gonna come back with Chad. You're listening to the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show on 90.3 WKWC. My name is Brian Basham, and I'm the host of the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show. I want to personally invite you to listen to the show on Saturdays at noon and replaying on Saturdays and Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. This season, we are getting to know some of the talented people that we have in our area and learning along the way. Catch us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and wherever you get your podcast. God bless. All right, we're back in the studio with Chad Benefield. If you missed the first 2, that's on you, because it's been good. We've been everywhere. We've been talking about everything. And if you know Chad, you know that he doesn't like theater much, but he just dropped a bombshell and said he was a theater kid. Shocker.
Right?
I'm kidding. But
no,
no,
go a lot, by the way.
But that's why I'm just going to get personal. That's why I enjoy the show. So when I moved back in 2016, I'm a big country music guy, and obviously WBKR is one of the biggest ones here. And there's a couple other ones that play like older country.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Can't even imagine.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, WBKR, we listen to it every morning. But that's when I started hearing you. I'm like, who's this Chad guy? And it was just the energy you brought to it, it kind of builds up the song and get your mind right to listen to it. And that's what I appreciate about a good radio show. And you have,
thanks.
When it was you and Angel, I mean, y'all are hilarious, right? And it was fun to listen to that. And then now with Mary Cat, got to meet her.
Total natural too, right?
Yeah, I got to meet her a couple times, and it's like she was born for it as well. So I enjoy it. I enjoy the
Thanks.
show. I listen to it every morning. Me and the kids, even my youngest one's like, hey, we're going to turn on Chad. And I'm like,
I love it.
Turn it on. So
let's talk country for a second since you brought it up. So who do you like?
So,
who are your favorites right now?
Right now, Luke Combs, Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, God,
I really enjoy Chris Stapleton because he kind of brings his own style to it. And
fun fact: Chris Stapleton used to routinely play open mics at Goldie's. Right?
I did know that.
Pretty incredible. And actually, the Grammy nominations just came out a couple of days ago. Luke Combs got one, of course, for Fast Car.
Yeah. And
then Chris Stapleton got nominated too for a couple of things. So.
Which Luke Combs is an amazing guy. Other than his voice, but the Fast Car, like the credit that he gave,
killed it.
Gave Tracy Chapman. I mean, she deserved it when it first came out.
We talked about Casey Kasem and taping songs. Fast Car for me, Tracy Chapman's all-time top 10 song in history. I love that song, always have. His version of it, I love it. I'm obsessed with it. So good.
There's another song that somebody else wrote. I can't think of it right now. It's on his new album. He just released it as a single, and I think Morgan Wallen was singing it at their little songwriter thing. But cool story is that even the songwriters, like he took the song and he changed it to fit his, and he didn't put his name on songwriting credit. He left it all to them. So just being a stand-up person in that business is that's why I like Luke.
You know, right now in country music, there is a big shift, and the shift is happening. We're moving away from these superstars of the format that have been dominating for like 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
We're getting all this new blood, because Luke Combs has been around for a few years, but he's still new blood.
Yeah.
Morgan Wallen, the same thing. Jelly Roll, who's been a revelation in country music.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who a handful of years ago was playing the Knights of Columbus Hall in Owensboro for like 30 people.
That's crazy. Now
he's selling out the Ford Center. Now he just won CMA Best New Artist. He just got a Grammy nomination.
His speech when he won that,
killed it.
Amazing.
Yeah, he killed it.
It gave me hope. I'm like 42, and I'm never gonna, I don't want to be on stage, but I do like songwriting. I enjoy it. Yeah. And we've talked about the different programs that I'm in, but like I enjoy songwriting so much, like, to express it. And I always ask the question because I've had a bunch of local artists on, like Cam Thompson, Josh Merritt, Andy Bradshaw, all them. I'm like, if you had a choice, because they're all songwriters, I'm like, if you had a choice of somebody taking a song you wrote to number one or you selling out Bridgestone Arena, what would it be? And it kind of stumps them a little bit, like, man, because it's two different passions. And it's about 50-50.
Really?
Yeah, about 50-50. There's some of the...
I would choose the number one song because the royalties last forever. That's a paycheck in the mailbox every month.
For sure. And it is a little weird, like, to show somebody a song you wrote and somebody else singing on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, that ain't you singing. Like, that's where their mind goes.
Right.
I'm like, no, but I wrote it.
That's right.
I wrote what they're singing. Yes, they have, their vocals are amazing. Yes, I get it. But I would pick the number one song. But I don't even know where we're going with this. Oh, yeah, you're leading this question.
We're talking about country. Yeah.
Country,
so there's a shift that's taking place right now where all of this new blood, they're becoming the new superstars. And so, like, if you watch the CMA Awards this past week, you probably noticed Carrie Underwood wasn't there. Miranda Lambert wasn't there. It's the first time since 2005 that one or both of those ladies has not been a huge through line in the show.
Yeah.
You have people like Lainey Wilson coming in, Carly Pierce, Kelsey Ballerini, who for my money gave an impeccable performance that night. That was
she's very
incredible.
passionate about it. Yeah.
And then you have like the guys. I mean, where's Keith Urban? Where's it was great to see Eric Church come back up because I love Eric Church, and that duet with Morgan's going to be a massive hit. Man Made a Bar. But it's exciting. It's an exciting time for country because I think this time period has been coming for a long time. I think the fans have been waiting for it, and it's happening, and it's really exciting to see.
And I like Hardy. I like Morgan Wallen. I think they're amazing songwriters and entertainers. And Post Malone, seeing Post Malone up there.
Can't wait. Post Malone was actually on Howard Stern recently. And in the course of that interview, he talked about the possibility of doing a country album. Yeah. He will kill it.
Yes.
And last Wednesday's proof is he tore into that Joe Diffie song and he nailed it.
Yeah, he's got an amazing voice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited for it, but I'm still a big fan of like Garth Brooks and Toby Keith's new song. I mean, it's kind of haunting a little bit, and just knowing what he's going through and
Garth
everything.
has a new one.
I do
with Ronnie Dunn.
Ronnie Dunn, I heard.
Yeah, Rodeo Man.
Yeah. Bro, I'm on the fan list on that. I'm a huge Garth Brooks fan.
Well, and look, I mean, and Garth is one of those people, and I really think that when all is said and done with Luke Combs and Morgan Wallen, they're going to be for this generation what Garth was for ours.
For sure.
Garth was a game changer in country in the early 90s and really through the 90s and still is. And I think that Luke Combs and Morgan Wallen are going to have that kind of lasting impact for country music.
Yeah, Garth changed it from George Strait and Alan Jackson.
Yes.
Well, I think Alan was in there with him, but George Strait, where you just stand there and you play the guitar. Garth was flying through the air, and they're like, okay, he has good music, plus he entertains me when I'm there.
Yeah. I do hear from fans sometimes, like fans of the station and fans of country, like they'll say, this is not country music. And I always argue with that because honestly it is.
What is it?
Now, granted, the style's different, the musicality's different, but if you look at the lyrics, I mean, what these folks are singing, like somebody like Jelly Roll, that's inherently country what he's singing. Morgan Wallen the same way. I mean, and I feel that way about all those folks. I mean, and like for Luke Combs to take the song Fast Car, which wasn't a country song, not to change up the genders. Like he sang it like as the, working in the market as a checkout girl. Like he just sang the song the way that was written. But his take on that song is classically country to me.
It is.
I love it.
And everything, I'm a huge bluegrass fan. And everything is rooted from bluegrass.
Yes.
Rap, heavy metal, everything. So I think any song could be turned into a country song. It's just how it's a storytelling song. And that's why I like the new, like every song you listen to is a story.
Yes.
You just got to find it.
Did you watch the Ken Burns documentary on PBS about country music?
I didn't.
Go back and watch it. Put it in your queue list.
Okay.
It is a fascinating study of the history of country music, where its roots are.
Yeah.
And then also sort of how it evolved. And you have interviews from all sorts of people who were involved in the genre behind the scenes and in front of the mic. It's great.
Yeah. Because and it's stuff like that. Elvis Presley started out country.
Yeah.
And then those songs that he wrote.
Look, Olivia Newton-John was a country artist. I mean, it's kind of crazy, and I think sometimes that diehard country fans, like traditional country fans, get really irritated when these country stars cross over to pop. Yeah. Look, there's a lot of like hate on Taylor Swift because she started out in country. Now she's this global pop superstar.
I don't think she's hurting.
She's not. She doesn't care.
She does
But
not.
the thing is, though, if you look at Taylor Swift from a songwriting perspective, even a performer, she's always true to her country roots. Yep. Even during the Eras tour, she came out and did an acoustic version, an acoustic set, and one of the songs she sang was our song. Yeah. It doesn't get much countryer than our song.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm again a big Swiftie. I'm not afraid to admit it. She is the best, hands down, the best songwriter in our generation.
Good. Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
In our generation. And I'll put her up with George Strait. I'll put her up with anybody.
I mean, who writes a 10-minute song about a relationship?
I know.
And you
poor Travis Kelce. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that song is going to be fire when it comes out. And for the good or for the bad. You know what I'm saying? Right. I hope they get married and they have a good relationship. And there's so many things, like he's her 13th boyfriend. That's her number. And my daughter tells me all this stuff. I'm like, I'm here for it.
That's so funny.
Because I'm a big Kelce Brothers fan.
Sure.
Have you seen their podcast?
I have not. But since he started dating Taylor, I've seen snippets of it and stuff like that. But
it's a great podcast, and I'm jealous because it's doing better than me. But they have a little firepower behind them. But just the whole setup of it, and they're just real. They're just real guys. Jason Kelce is one of the funniest guys I've ever met or saw in my life. Yeah. So. But yeah, so let's talk about the stuff that you do here in the community.
Oh my gosh! Okay,
because it's a lot, right? St. Jude's has to be up there because I cry every time I listen to it just from the stories that and then I get my $20. Like it's so my arm so powerful.
My right arm is
let's talk about these tattoos that you were telling me about.
Yeah, so this arm is totally sleeved. The St. Jude symbol of the kid is actually up here.
Yeah.
And so this entire arm is a tribute to St. Jude. So you'll notice there are words that have been inked on the arm. Dreamers across here. She heard his voice today. Thumbs up. All the words that you see here are song titles of songs that I wrote that were inspired by kids who were patients at St. Jude or are patients at St. Jude. And they all have different stories. So Dreamer is a young lady that I know who's actually, I think she's 20 now. At the age of 7, was diagnosed with a really rare form of cancer, not supposed to live, is thriving. She's Native American. Her last name's Dreamer, so I wrote this song called Dreamer. This song, She Heard His Voice Today, was written for the mom of a St. Jude patient named Chance. Chance did not make it. His mother said that he died in August. In December of that year, she was driving along in some city and happened to be tuned into the radio where a St. Jude radiothon was going on. And in the course of that radiothon, she heard an interview with her son, and she hadn't heard his voice in 5 months. And she talked about how she had forgotten what he sounded like. And so I wrote this song for her called She Heard His Voice Today.
I got coaches on that one.
Yeah. And that's then obviously everybody knows Lane Goodwin from here, the kid from McLean County who died from the monster, at a very early age. He did that huge Thumbs Up campaign. Yeah. So wrote this song for his parents called Thumbs Up in his honor. There's one up here called Undefeated. This kid named Markel, who's amazing. St. Jude patient, the kind of kid that would walk into any room and just light it up. So much personality. In fact, he had so much personality, he was in all kinds of marketing campaigns for the hospital. But I think he finally succumbed to cancer the 8th time he got it, like a teenager.
That's crazy.
8 times. But the song I wrote for him was called Undefeated. It's kind of weird. We were actually in Memphis for a St Jude Country Cares conference, and Markel was one of the featured speakers at that event. The kid was so inspiring. But also, there was a documentary, I think it was called Undefeated. There was a coach in inner city Memphis, was a football coach. He ended up being the subject of a documentary about this season they had where he went in and like really helped this really inner city impoverished school defy the odds on the football field. Incredible. And so we had those two narratives going on at once on this one weekend. And I remember sitting in my hotel room, I think it was the DoubleTree, and I was sitting.
Oh, they got the cookies.
They do. They're really good. And I was sitting at the table, and I kind of started pounding out this like rhythm, and kind of I was looking out into the streets of downtown Memphis from my room, and I literally wrote that song in like 5 minutes.
It's amazing how that happens.
It kind of came out like almost like an old school church hymn.
Mm-hmm.
And we wrote that song for Markel and actually had the chance to play it for him, but he fell really, really ill. And he eventually recovered from that, so he was able to hear the song we wrote for him. Jacqueline Graves performed it, and she killed it. But he finally got to hear it. He was like, oh, man, that's my song. You all wrote that song for me. So that was really cool. But that's what this whole arm is. So, yeah, St. Jude is a huge, huge passion project for me.
That's amazing, man. And have you recorded all these songs?
Yeah, they're all recorded. Yeah.
So we're gonna play them. If you're okay with it, we'll just play it through this episode.
Yeah, we can do that. Sure.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So yeah, St. Jude's very, very inspirational. Or what was it?
Inspirational.
Thank you.
A bunch, yeah. So I'll tell you how it
I don't know what I'm
started.
doing on this
Actually,
thing.
I think in 2000, it was either 2004 or 5. I went down to Memphis, and we were at a lunch where this dad, a St. Jude dad, he was from Mississippi. I forget his first name. Taylor was his last name, and he got up to speak, and he had this really thick Mississippi drawl. He sounded exactly how you think that somebody from Mississippi would sound, and he was talking about how wonderful St. Jude had been for his daughter. Well, from where most of us were sitting in the room, we couldn't see that his daughter was actually in the room too. And he finally introduced her. Her name was Ellen. And so Ellen got up, 4 years old, not a hair on that head because she had been through chemotherapy treatments and stuff like that. And she just kind of walked up to stage, and she took the microphone from her dad, and she says, hello, my name is Ellen Taylor, and I'm 4 years old, and I'm a patient at St. Jude, and I'm going to sing for you. And she sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Tears.
Gutted.
Yeah.
Toast. And I decided that day that I was going to do everything in my power to raise money for that hospital. And I've done that ever since.
That's amazing, man.
Ellen Taylor. She's on this arm too, by the way.
Is she still around?
Yeah.
Ellen Taylor. Awesome. I just like, I love when it's the radiothon, and I mean, all day. I just listen to it because it makes you sad, but it also makes you hopeful.
You know what I love about that event? You know, it was 2008 when Jacqueline was working for the radio station. She and I decided that, because we'd had radiothons leading up to, that time frame, and they were doing okay. We were making like, $40,000 in a couple of days or whatever. Well, she and I got together and decided that we knew this community, and by community, I don't mean just Owensboro and Davis County. I mean the entire WBCAR listening audience. Like we decided that we knew if our listeners could get involved with St. Jude, that we could make tremendous amounts of money for the mission. And so we started doing a lot of things. We started driving people to Memphis on our own and taking listeners down to Memphis to tour the hospital. We started getting people involved with fundraisers. We started writing songs based on the patients and sharing those. And we have, since that time frame, I mean, there's just this huge network of people in this community who are part of the St. Jude family, and it just grows every year. And so that's what I love about that event, because for those 2 days, I feel like there's this huge community of people that really does sort of transcend the boundaries of the county and the area. And we all get together for 2 days, all in the same mission. And that event is churning out like $300,000 in 2 days now. It's crazy.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Veterans Empowered Together it wants to be a part of it. So
Okay, done.
Whatever we need to do,
Be
whatever
careful what you wish
want
for, Brian Basham.
No, we want it. We want it.
'Cause I'm going to put you to work.
Because that's our mission is to be out in the community and show veterans that it's okay to be out in the communities and help that. So
one thing
we're
I'll
here
add
for it.
about St. Jude, sometimes I'll hear this from people, well, that's not a local charity, because it's in Memphis, but it really is.
Until it hits it local.
Well, here's what happens, and St. Jude has this as a mission. They routinely, and when I say routinely, it's like every single day. The research, the advancements they achieve at the hospital, they're sharing freely all around the world.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we have St. Jude miracles right here in this community in the tri-state. We have people who've benefited from that directly. And there are tons of them. If you go to Norton's or you go to Riley's in Indianapolis, chances are you're going to be treated with protocols that were developed at St. Jude.
Yeah.
So that's why that hospital is so important.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine. Yes, I had problems when I was a kid. You had problems when you were a kid. But I didn't have the problem of cancer.
No.
I can't imagine being 13 years old and not being able to go to the playground at this elementary school to play Babe Ruth.
I have a 5-year-old right now.
Yeah.
And that 4-year-old girl getting up there and having so much passion and so much stuff about her, even though the big monster is in her. Yeah. And she's just fighting it. And I don't know. That's what puts it in perspective to me.
I'll share one quick story. One year during a listener visit, we were standing in C Clinic, which is part of that clinic is there's a big Katie Couric thing there because she gave a bunch of money to that clinic. So I was sitting in C Clinic, and that's where kids go to get medicine. And I was watching a mom with a teenage boy, and when you're at that hospital, you're in that situation, you try to have some measure of respect. And I remember, and I'm a fixer by nature. So I remember I was actually standing against the wall, and I've taken that tour 1,000 times. So I wasn't listening to the tour give the listeners the spiel because I've heard it and I know it like the back of my hand. So I was very content in watching this mother and her teenage son. We had to use the restroom, and he could not stand. And because he was a teenager, he was way bigger than she was. Yeah. And she didn't have the strength to pick him up. And I remember watching that, and I wanted so badly to help. Like, I wanted so badly to go over there and pick that kid up for her. But I knew I couldn't and should not do that. Yeah. So I watched her struggle with him and get him up. And I remember thinking to myself, that could easily have been me. That could easily have been you. I mean, and to be, like I said, to be 13 years old and not being able to be with my friends or be at school or doing theater or playing ball or playing tennis and having to be at a hospital and having my mother pick me up to take me to the restroom, I can't even imagine. Yeah. And that's why, Danny Thomas, who founded St. Jude, said no child should die in the dawn of life. Firmly believe that. And that's why I think that mission is so important. And that's why I will raise money for it until the day that I die.
Yeah. Well, I'm here for you.
Thanks.
And
you come and put you to work.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
We can work. So other than St. Jude's, you do a lot of MC.
Yeah.
You MC about everything in this town.
A lot.
Almost to the point where it's like, okay, do we have anybody else though? No, but you are sought after just because of the energy that you bring and the excitement that you bring for every event. So what is, and I'm not going to tell you pick a favorite because that's not fair, but what is the one that you remember maybe be your first one that you ever did or the first time you did something and like, oh man, that was a big applaud or whatever.
Well, I'll tell you one of my favorite events to MC. And that, without a doubt, is the lip sync battle for Puzzle Pieces. Yeah, that is a blast. Yeah, and what I love about that event and why it continues to grow, and we're coming up on the 6th year, January 13th, downtown. There you go, shameless plug, Amanda Owen. Yeah. But the reason that I love that event is because, look. And nobody, this will not be a surprise to anybody who's listening. Like, I am the world's biggest champion of diversity. Mm-hmm. And that event to me is a huge celebration of diversity across the board. I think the communities are better when they're diverse. I think when you have more voices being heard and more people in seats at the table, I think that the outcomes are greater. I think those outcomes benefit the majority and not the minority. And I think that I think it's really important for everybody to be seen and heard. And I think that the lip sync battle is that event in town that really does elevate diversity in so many ways. And I love that event. And as long as Amanda wants to do those, I will always MC them.
Yeah, my daughter has danced at the last 3 with Music Studios, and she enjoys it.
It's a blast.
And she actually is like, Dad, you should do it. She's like,
you should do it.
I want to, but getting everybody else.
Could we have veterans empowered together?
See,
be a team for
I tried this year. I tried this year, but getting the people, the other veterans, to say, yeah, I want to do it. They all said no. They're like, we can't do that. We can't do that. I could get up there by myself. I would. I do not care. We'll come up with something. Next couple years, we'll definitely be in there because that's what we're trying to. We're trying to get the veterans in the community, and what better way is, for a great cause kind of thing. There was a question I wanted to ask you. So you don't strike me as a guy who gets starstruck.
Not at all.
But there's got to be one that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm sitting next to them or I'm getting to meet them. Who is the person that kind of unsettled you a little bit? Not unsettled, but like kind of got you off your game a little bit.
I got to be honest. There's not one.
Not one.
Yeah. See, I don't.
Is there somebody you haven't met that
I want to?
That you would be like, I can't believe I'm like Dolly. You've met Dolly though, hadn't you?
I've not met her. I've been in her vicinity.
Gotcha.
But so this is, I'm not, so celebrity doesn't impress me.
Yeah.
In fact, I also think that it takes a very special breed of human to be able to put up with that kind of scrutiny and attention all the time.
Yeah.
Like I also think that celebrity is very dangerous for people. I think it can be.
Oh, it is totally.
I can name a handful of celebrities off like right now who I think are in crisis mode because of the constant attention they've been subjected to. So I don't think that celebrity is necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
I think if the person that I would love to meet that I haven't, just because I think that she handles it so well, and I'm a big fan. Like I'm a huge Kelly Clarkson stan.
Bro, get out of here.
Total blast.
I'm a huge Kelly Clarkson fan.
Okay, so I just went to Vegas to see her.
Yeah.
I've seen her probably 10, 11 times in concert.
My wife would not let me see her. Like that's the person.
Really?
That's the person.
She's huge. I love her. I don't. Celebrity doesn't really impress me. So I don't get real starstruck around people. And look, I've been in rooms with many celebrities, and I don't go talk to them.
Yeah.
Just because I kind of want to give them their space.
For sure.
I mean, because I feel like that they don't get that a lot. And so I try to be respectful of that. And I will tell you a really funny story. So this is kind of a full circle moment too. So Barry Manilow has a brand new show on Broadway. It's called Harmony. It has taken Barry Manilow about 26 to 27 years to get that show to Broadway. He workshopped that show in our theater space in La Jolla, California in 1997.
Wow.
That's how long it's been. So I was around Barry Manilow for weeks. And it's the Barry Manilow.
Yeah.
Like he's in our theater space. I saw him constantly. Well, the day that I was finally introduced to him, I think somebody, maybe his publicist or somebody said, well, do you want to get a picture? So my friend Beth and I were like, sure. Yeah, why not? Whatevs. And so now you take a picture with Barry Manilow. It's run of the mill.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a cliche to give somebody like rabbit ears in a photo. Unless the person you give rabbit ears is Barry Manilow. That's funny.
That's awesome.
He didn't think so.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Oh, man.
No. In fact, we were told we can't do that, even though we tried.
Do you still have the picture, though?
Do not. Yeah, they wouldn't let us take it.
Oh, you didn't even get to take it?
They wouldn't let us. They were like, oh, no, you can't do that. I'm like, it's Barry
outta
Manilow.
here.
Come on.
Get out of here.
No. So, I don't have that person now. I'm a huge sports fan. I'm a huge tennis fan. So, I think that Novak Djokovic is the greatest player of all time, and I'm a huge fan, and so I would probably like the opportunity to meet him.
You could argue. I mean, it's his season.
Oh, there's no argument.
It's his season. It's his season. Like, there's been people before him. It goes on to the Michael Jordan, LeBron James thing.
Get it.
Like, LeBron James is very talented. Yes. And he's
for sure.
And he's probably the best player in this decade. But you can't put him against Michael Jordan. Like, he changed the game.
Yeah.
And I like tennis, and I think there was people before him that changed the game. And
for
made
sure.
it very exciting, but it was also good too. Like Pete Sampras. Like, but then you had Oh my God.
Roger Federer.
Yeah, Roger Federer. Like, I mean, bro was on
Rafael Nadal.
Yeah.
And Novak has more Grand Slams than both.
I know, but who's he playing against? He ain't playing against
Those two.
Well, yeah, at the beginning. Now they ain't playing. Well, Nadal's still playing.
Yeah, Rafa's going to come back. Well, he says he's going to come back for 2024 for a final season.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Andre,
how he does.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Loved Andre Agassi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's the one that changed the game, like made it cool. You know?
Big hitter for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been watching and playing tennis my whole life. I'm a huge fan. If you're at my house, if the television's on, it's on the tennis channel.
Yeah.
I watch it incessantly.
Oh, we have it on. I mean, it's so like, I don't know, just put you at ease a little bit.
And it's exciting. It's thrilling. I mean,
It really is.
I mean, for me, it's one of the most exciting. Well, for me, it's the most exciting individual sport there is.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a individual sport. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Golf is not entertaining. It's fun.
I watch it though.
It's fun when Tiger's out there. Like I so want Tiger to win just one more and just call her good. Yeah. But
like Pete Sampras did. You know,
Yeah.
Pete Sampras won very unexpectedly that last U.S. Open and retired immediately.
yeah. And now we have to wait for his kid because his kid's going to be just as good as Tiger. But it goes back to that fame thing. I think Tiger, I don't know Tiger personally, but I would think he wouldn't want the same stuff for his kid, you know, the stuff that he went through. But
I can't imagine living that life, truly.
yeah. And I don't want my kids to be, but I want them to be good at some stuff and get recognized, you know. And I haven't been starstruck yet. I mean, I haven't met that many famous people, but I have to say, if Garth Brooks ever talked to me, I'd probably be like, okay, hold on. Let me just take a second. Okay.
Can I hit record, please?
Yeah, can I record this first off? But, and I tell everybody, like when I started this, if I can get Garth Brooks on this,
Oh, heck yeah.
I'm retiring. Like that's it. That's a pinnacle for me. And, nobody comes, but no, I've had the pleasure of, interviewing a bunch of people in the community, music artists, I mean, walks of life. Ron Williams, like he does amazing stuff for this community, and people don't really know who he is, but they will. And he started a lot of businesses, brought jobs to the town. So
For sure.
and then you, I mean, being the voice of my country music that I like to listen to, I'll say it that way to make it fair. You know, I enjoyed it, and I really do appreciate you agreeing to come on the show.
Hey, I appreciate the invite. Seriously.
I know, and
It's been
most
fun.
people don't know this, but we record this in the morning and whatever. But you like literally just ended your show and came over here, so I appreciate the gratitude of coming to the show.
I appreciate the invite and good work. Seriously.
Thank you, I appreciate it. But I'm going to leave it to you. I'm going to give you the mic. I know you don't get to talk on the mic a lot, but say anything you want to my listeners, anything that's coming up, any positive, any negative, whatever you want to. The mic is yours.
Oh gosh, I don't know. That's kind of putting me on the spot. I mean, really, this is airing
Saturday
after the military ball, right?
Yeah.
So congratulations on that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, it's seriously what you guys are doing at Vet is really cool.
It takes a village, and I know you talk about it or whatever, but there's a bunch of us.
Yeah. So
And,
I mean, really, having the mic, let's talk about it seriously. Because,
okay, let's do it.
So yeah, what you guys are doing is really cool. I really want to be involved next year with the big walk that you all do.
Yes,
That's Memorial Day, right?
Yep, Memorial Day. Yep.
I definitely want to do that with you. I know it's a haul.
Yeah.
But it sounds really impactful. I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's rewarding. I'm actually on a weight loss journey, I guess, a little one.
Really?
So I've lost 35 pounds just so
Sweet.
I could walk, because usually I drive. I drive the truck and I pick up stragglers.
Yeah.
I pick up me. I pick up people like me. And but people that walk just halfway and they need a ride, I give them a ride.
And I want to do it like legit. I want to do it like Doc does it. I want the works.
Okay, we'll give you the works. We'll give you.
I may regret it after 3 miles.
You're gonna
but
regret it.
I still want to do it.
We have one guy that he's 65-ish, somewhere around there, and he did the whole walk, and he got so sunburnt, his face was blistering up.
Oh gosh,
It was bad. It was crazy, but he finished the walk.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to do it. And he's
Well,
like, I'm going to do it again next year.
sunburn, but-
Yeah, get some sunblock.
I
and
want
stuff.
it's like a
Now,
pack
if you
right
want
on
the
the
full
back.
thing, yeah, you get the rucksack.
Rucksack, yeah. How much does that weigh?
It's about 85 pounds if you really want to do it, or you can cheat it like everybody else does because you're.
Get like an LL Bean backpack.
Yeah, just no. You get the rucksack, but you
Put a
just stuff
couple
it
of
with a
bricks
bunch
in.
of like light jackets and stuff. You know. Little,
No, I really want to do that, and what you guys are doing is really great.
sure.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's just spreading. You know, it's kind of cool just to vision it. A bunch of veterans walking with the American flag down Frederica Street and Parrish Avenue, and it's just the people that get out of their cars and salute it and honk, and just the love. This is what I love about this community, is the love for the military and the veterans, and you didn't get that in California. Like, they didn't really care. And so moving back here, that's when the passion's like, man, they really love. Like, I never talked about it in California.
Yeah.
Nobody even cared about it. So I was just like, it is what it is. I moved back here and they're like, you're a veteran? Like, tell me more. And
yeah, there's definitely a reverence, I think, for, for
and
military here.
That's why I love this. Is the greatest community ever. And when I say community, I mean this area of the state.
Right.
And the whole state for that matter. I mean, they just love their veterans. So we created this thing to give a sense of purpose to the veteran they left, and hopefully that's what we continue to do. And along the way, we have programs to help them. That way, we don't call it a handout; we call it a hand up.
Yes,
we give them a hand up and get them on their way, kind of thing. So I appreciate you bringing it up and using your time on my show to talk about that. But
that's what I do for a living.
I know
it makes sense.
You
to do
switched it on me again, like.
But it really is important. So I'm glad to do it.
Well, I appreciate you, Chad. I appreciate all you guys listening, and God bless.
You've been listening to My Dad on the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show. The Forgiven Soldier Radio Show is a broadcast service of Veterans Empowered Together and 90.3 WKWC.